Now let's just cover the most typical changes that will take place to letters. I'm going to point out 5 things. Vowel lengthening, where a vowel gets longer, where the sound of a vowel gets longer. A sigma, which shows up between 2 vowels. That sigma will usually disappear. An iota subscript, crassus, and elysion. So let's look at the first one. Vowel lengthening. Vowel lengthening takes place when you have something called compensatory lengthening. This basically means that when you lose one sound from a word, the vowel, whatever vowel comes before that, it doesn't have to be part of the actual combination of letters that came together. It just has to be the preceding vowel sound. That sound will get a little longer. You'll see lots of examples of this. I'm just putting it on the cheat sheet so that when you come across it, you'll be able to say, oh, I know what that is. That's compensatory lengthening. All it is the sound of a vowel compensates for whatever sound has dropped out or been lost. So next we have sigma, which shows up between vowels, and actually some other sigmas as well. The whole thing is Greek people did not like to pronounce sigma under certain circumstances. One notable one is when it comes in between 2 vowels. That sigma will just disappear and then the vowels will contract together. Another place is where you would expect a nu tau sigma combination. Usually the tau and sigma will just drop out and whatever vowel comes before the nu will be lengthened. That's extremely common. Again, you don't have to memorize that. It's going to be on your cheat sheet. And when you come across it, you'll at least have an explanation as to why you're seeing some kind of difference. Next we have iota subscript. What happens here is that when an iota is at the end of a word before an alpha, eta, or omega, it will just drop underneath to form an iota subscript. When it does that, you don't pronounce that iota. You just pronounce it like whatever the vowel is that it dropped underneath. Alpha gets pronounced like an alpha, eta gets pronounced like an eta, and omega like an omega. You don't have to pronounce the iota that has dropped underneath. What this signals to you, this iota subscript, is just certain things that are going on in the grammar that we're going to see when we start looking at some vocabulary. But just think about this as a silent iota. Next we have crassus. Crassus occurs when you have 2 vowels that would normally come together and Greek people didn't want to pronounce both of the vowels. So if you look at the example I've got there, you have kai, ego. Now, Greek people didn't like to say kai, ego under every circumstance, and so sometimes they would just say kago. It's very similar to the contractions that happen in English. We have something like don't for do not or can't for cannot. But in this case, it's 2 vowel sounds that they didn't want to pronounce individually. Now you can note here that there will be a little indicator that this has taken place. The way you recognize crassus is you have one of these breathing marks, which look like a quotation mark, and you have it after a consonant. Again, you don't have to remember this. I'm just telling you in advance so that when you come across something like this, you'll say, ah yes, I remember hearing something about that. Finally, we have elysion or elysion. This takes place a lot more frequently than crassus. So this is where the final sound is omitted. This is actually what's going on in something like don't or can't, is a vowel is just dropping out and being marked by an apostrophe. So if you look at this example, you've got epi-hain. Now what's taking place here is you've got 2 vowels that are going to be coming together, but rather than merging the 2 words into one letter just drops out. You'll notice that the pi has changed into a phi because it comes before a rough breathing mark. And that makes it a fricative, because when you have a pi or any labial before a rough breathing mark, that's when it becomes a fricative. Same thing with the dentals and the velars as well.